The NFL didn't just hand out a contract, it lit a firestorm. When Brock Purdy signed that massive $265 million deal, the league split clean down the middle. On one side, executives and coaches quietly admitted the last pick of the 2022 draft had officially broken the scouting system. On the other side, old-school analysts scoffed, saying the money was reckless, premature, and driven by hype.
The weapons that Brock's working with, he's figured that offense out. He understands what his position is. He doesn't try to make.
As sources claim, several front offices privately questioned how a quarterback labeled Mr. Irrelevant could suddenly sit in the same financial bracket as MVPs and Super Bowl winners. But numbers don't lie, and Purdy's resume kept stacking up. A Super Bowl appearance, elite efficiency metrics, and a calm command of the offense forced the league to confront a harsh truth. The evaluation process failed. The outrage wasn't really about money, it was about pride. Scouts who passed on Purdy 6 times didn't want to admit they missed. Critics screamed system quarterback. But the system excuse only exists when a player doesn't fit the prototype.
I don't know if you'll admit it, if he was the 8th quarterback or 8th player taken in a draft and had done exactly what he's done.
I will admit that.
And even I would feel even more confident.
But I feel like that's sometimes like circular.
Purdy didn't look the part, didn't throw the prettiest spiral, didn't dominate the combine, yet kept carving defenses apart. As sources claim, some veteran quarterbacks quietly welcomed the deal because it reset leverage for everyone else, while others rolled their eyes, calling it a fluke. Either way, the contract changed the conversation forever. The NFL suddenly had to explain how a player everyone ignored became someone no one could ignore anymore. The loudest argument against Purdy always circles back to one name: San Francisco 49ers. Critics swear the franchise could plug any quarterback into the lineup and still dominate. As sources claim, talking heads leaned hard into that narrative, pointing straight at head coach Kyle Shanahan and calling him the real quarterback. The play design, the motion, the timing, all elite. But here's the problem. If the system was everything, why didn't it work like this before? Why didn't previous quarterbacks elevate the offense the same way? Purdy didn't just run plays. He diagnosed coverages, manipulated safeties, and punished blitzes with ruthless efficiency.
You still, I don't think you're coming around. You're trying to act
I think
like
he's the 15th or 16th best quarterback.
Okay, that's underrated.
The system talk became louder when Purdy succeeded and quieter when others failed. As sources claim, defensive coordinators openly admitted the real nightmare wasn't the scheme. It was Purdy's processing speed. He got the ball out faster than expected, anticipated windows before they opened, and stayed composed when chaos hit. That's not software, that's hardware. The league tried to downplay it, but tape doesn't lie. When defenses disguised coverages, Purdy adjusted. When protection collapsed, he slid, reset, and fired. Those skills don't come from a clipboard. They come from instincts sharpened under pressure, and pressure followed Purdy every single week. Then came the roster argument. The idea that Purdy was being carried by stars. Yes, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle are elite weapons. Nobody denies that. But as sources claim, that excuse collapsed during the injury-ravaged 2024 season. With starters dropping weekly and the offense held together by backups, Purdy still posted numbers that embarrassed healthier teams. The 49ers finished 6-11, yet Purdy's efficiency outpaced quarterbacks with full rosters and clean pockets.
The single hardest thing I had to do this year was act like Brock Purdy deserved to be in the conversations with the other people we're mentioning in next week. We had to continue to include him in conversations with the Lamar Jacksons. We had to continue to include him in conversations with the Josh Allen.
That's when the conversation got uncomfortable. Analysts couldn't blame talent anymore. They couldn't blame coaching. They were left staring at production they didn't want to explain. Purdy kept attacking the middle of the field, kept converting third downs, kept moving chains with practice squad receivers. That season didn't hurt his reputation, it strengthened it. As sources claim, several defensive players admitted Purdy became harder to defend once the stars were gone because the ball stopped telegraphing where it was going. That's quarterbacking at its rawest level. No excuses, no safety net, just execution.
By 2025, the debate wasn't cooling down, it was exploding. With the roster restored, San Francisco surged to a 10-4 record, and Purdy delivered statement performances. The game against Tennessee Titans became the tipping point. Nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, total control. As sources claim, several former quarterbacks publicly admitted they underestimated him. Yet the goalposts moved again.
Tired of hearing about Brock Purdy and what a great pick Brock Purdy is and how Brock Purdy is going to win a Super Bowl. Get out of here. Mr. Irrelevant is not winning a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan, I'm tired of him too. How about win a Super Bowl?
Critics now demanded rings. They demanded dominance. They demanded perfection. Meanwhile, other quarterbacks received endless grace for postseason failures. The double standard became obvious. Purdy wasn't just fighting defenses. He was fighting perception. As sources claim, his contract ignited tension in quarterback rooms around the league because it proved pedigree no longer mattered. Draft position no longer guaranteed patience. Production did. Purdy's rise sent shockwaves through scouting departments who built careers on physical traits over decision-making. Suddenly, the league had to adjust. The blueprint was broken, and nobody likes rewriting rules they spent decades enforcing. That's the real Brock Purdy problem. The NFL doesn't know how to categorize him. He doesn't fit the myth, yet he keeps winning. He doesn't look like a savior, yet franchises fear him. And until a championship ring silences the noise, the debate won't die. As sources claim, front offices are already rethinking draft boards, prioritizing processing and poise over raw arm strength. Purdy forced that change. Whether critics like it or not, the contract validated his journey and exposed the league's blind spots. When the ink dried on Brock Purdy's $265 million contract, the league didn't just react, it spiraled. Executives smiled in public and panicked in private. As sources claim, several front offices immediately held emergency meetings, not to talk about Purdy specifically, but to ask one dangerous question. How did everyone miss this? The deal wasn't just about money, it was about humiliation. A quarterback taken dead last now made more guaranteed cash than players drafted ahead of him who were sold as can't-miss prospects. Scouts who once laughed at Purdy's draft grade suddenly went quiet. Analysts who called him lucky scrambled to rewrite old takes. The contract exposed something the league hates admitting. Draft status doesn't equal destiny. As sources claim, the deal also created tension inside quarterback rooms across the NFL. Mid-tier starters who were drafted high but never reached elite efficiency reportedly questioned why patience was extended to them but not to Purdy earlier. Meanwhile, Purdy never asked for validation. He kept stacking film. The outrage grew louder because the excuses ran out. It wasn't scheme anymore. It wasn't talent around him anymore. The numbers kept screaming elite. Completion percentage under pressure, third down efficiency, red zone decision-making, all ranked near the top of the league. Those aren't accidents. The contract forced the NFL to confront a truth it hates. Evaluation bias exists. Tall quarterbacks with rocket arms get grace. Underdogs don't. Purdy broke that rule in real time. As sources claim, the deal changed how younger quarterbacks are now being coached, with teams emphasizing processing speed over arm theatrics. The league didn't just pay Purdy, it paid for its mistake. Turn on the All-22 film and something jumps out immediately. Brock Purdy doesn't panic. As sources claim, defensive coordinators privately rank him among the hardest quarterbacks to confuse before the snap. He identifies leverage early, adjusts protections quickly, and punishes hesitation instantly. That's the part critics ignore. They see short throws and scream system, but defenders see something else entirely. Timing warfare. Purdy doesn't wait for receivers to get open. He throws where they will be, forcing defensive backs to react late. That half second is deadly. As sources claim, teams tried disguising coverages more aggressively against him in 2025, rotating safeties late and bluffing pressure. It didn't work. Purdy burned them anyway. His footwork stayed clean, his eyes stayed disciplined, he rarely drifted into chaos. That's why blitz rates against San Francisco quietly dropped. Defenses realized pressure only made things worse. The ball was gone before hands could get home. This is where the system quarterback argument collapses. Systems don't diagnose, quarterbacks do. When injury stripped weapons in 2024, Purdy still carved defenses with backups because his reads didn't change. He didn't chase hero plays. He punished mistakes. That's why veterans respect him even when media doesn't. As sources claim, several Pro Bowl defenders openly admitted Purdy's calm made games feel longer, more exhausting, more demoralizing. He didn't beat teams with flash. He suffocated them with certainty. That's fear. And fear doesn't come from schemes. It comes from quarterbacks who control games without emotion. Now the goalposts have moved again. Critics say Brock Purdy must win a championship to silence doubt. As sources claim, this standard isn't applied evenly. Other quarterbacks are celebrated for potential, leadership, or almost moments.
Purdy gets ultimatums, win it all or it doesn't count. That's not analysis, that's insecurity. Championships require rosters, health, and timing. Purdy already proved he can reach the stage. The idea that one game defines his value ignores everything else he's already done. As sources claim, the ring argument exists because critics ran out of film-based critiques. They can't attack his decision-making, they can't attack his accuracy, they can't attack his composure. So they attack the one thing no quarterback controls alone. Meanwhile, Purdy keeps stacking wins, converting third downs, and commanding respect in the huddle. Teammates follow him, coaches trust him, defenses prepare for him. That's franchise quarterback behavior. The NFL's real problem isn't whether Purdy wins a ring, it's that his success forces uncomfortable self-reflection. Scouting departments must admit physical traits aren't everything. Media must admit narratives matter more than truth. And fans must accept that greatness doesn't always look the way it's marketed. Purdy didn't ask to break the system, he just exposed it. The rise of Brock Purdy has quietly turned NFL scouting rooms upside down, and as sources claim, executives hate that part the most. For decades, quarterback evaluation followed a rigid blueprint. Elite arm strength, towering frame, highlight throws at pro days, and draft pedigree that screamed safe investment. Purdy violates every piece of that formula. He isn't the biggest. He doesn't have the loudest arm. He didn't dominate headlines entering the draft, yet here he stands with a $265 million contract and a team built around him. That reality has created panic behind closed doors. As sources claim, several teams are now re-examining how they evaluate quarterback traits at the college level. Processing speed, pocket awareness, anticipation, and emotional control are suddenly being weighted heavier than raw arm talent. That's not coincidence, that's Purdy influence. His ability to stay calm under pressure, take what defenses give him, and still attack when necessary has become the new measuring stick. Defensive coordinators know he won't beat himself, that's the nightmare. The league was built to exploit quarterback mistakes. Purdy refuses to make them. The scary part is how young quarterbacks are now watching this unfold. As sources claim, college coaches are already pointing to Purdy as proof that intelligence and discipline can override hype. That changes how quarterbacks train. Less backyard hero ball, more film study, more footwork, more timing routes. That shift threatens the NFL's old gatekeepers, the ones who sold teams on tools instead of production. Purdy's success exposes that mistake in real time. What makes this even louder is the contrast. Quarterbacks drafted ahead of Purdy with massive contracts and massive expectations are still being given excuses. Bad coaching, bad roster, needs more time. Meanwhile, Purdy delivered immediately, survived roster collapse in 2024 and returned stronger in 2025. As sources claim, the frustration around the league isn't that Purdy is great, it's that he's undeniable. He doesn't give critics room to spin narratives anymore. Every week he adds more evidence. The NFL didn't just find a great quarterback, it accidentally proved that its entire evaluation system has been flawed for years. That's why Brock Purdy isn't just a success story. He's a threat to how business has always been done. Even with wins piling up, the Brock Purdy debate refuses to die. And as sources claim, that's exactly why it matters. The argument has moved beyond football into ego, reputation, and media identity. Analysts built careers dismissing quarterbacks like Purdy. Admitting they were wrong now would mean admitting years of flawed logic. That's not happening quietly. So instead, the conversation keeps shifting. First it was draft position, then it was system quarterback. Now it's rings, always something new. As sources claim, this moving goalpost strategy is deliberate. If Purdy wins a championship, the argument will shift again. Strength of schedule, defensive help, coaching advantage, that's how denial works. But players around the league already know the truth. Quarterbacks don't get paid like Purdy unless locker rooms believe in them. Coaches don't hand over full control of the offense unless trust is absolute. And front offices don't commit $265 million unless the film screams long-term stability. The irony is that Purdy's calm personality fuels the skepticism. He doesn't bark at reporters. He doesn't chase headlines. He doesn't flex after touchdowns. That lack of theatrics gets mistaken for lack of dominance. But dominance doesn't have one look. As sources claim, teammates describe Purdy as relentless in preparation and ruthless in accountability. Quiet leaders often get underestimated until rings start stacking. Another uncomfortable truth is how Purdy's rise reflects poorly on teams still chasing prototype quarterbacks who flame out. Every Purdy touchdown is a reminder that patience, development, and fit matter more than flash. That reality forces uncomfortable conversations in front offices that bet on tools over instincts. The league doesn't like mirrors, and Brock Purdy is holding one up every Sunday. What happens next depends on time, not talk. Purdy isn't slowing down. The roster around him is improving. The offense is evolving. And as sources claim, San Francisco believes the window is wide open. Whether or not a ring comes immediately, the legacy is already forming. Brock Purdy isn't an experiment anymore. He's a foundation, and the NFL's real problem isn't whether he proves himself again, it's that he already did. The story isn't over, it's just heating up. And if this conversation sparks something for you, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories the league can't stop arguing about.